Mr. Violet, good morning, good afternoon, and if I don't see you
Hi.
later today, good evening.
Thank you very much. It's great to see you, Ken. We've convened here for a Thanksgiving Eve edition of the Ken and Mike podcast, and we do it with the festive spirit of the Thanksgiving season in the air, the night before Thanksgiving, when families get together and forget their political
And
differences.
kill each other. Yeah, kill each other. There was a great Saturday Night Live skit years ago where the parties were, around Thanksgiving, and one girl brings her black boyfriend here, and they start yelling, and the little girl goes over and puts the music on. It's Adele singing a song,
Oh
and
yes, I remember
it
that.
calms down. And. By the way, did you see the Saturday Night Live episode after the election? It was really quite
Oh
good.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Where particularly who's the guy who does Weekend Update with Michael Shea, the one's married to Scarlett Johansson?
Yes, you had to ask me. It's not Bill.
That's the J.
Yeah,
John? Anyway,
I don't know. But anyway,
when he says, I support you, and I'm really glad you won, and it's Michael Shea. That's CHE. That I thought it was very funny. I thought that was very funny. That was a good.
yeah, they've actually done a decent job making fun of both sides.
Oh, they're great. They're great. I mean, look, their attacks on Biden when who was doing the Biden impersonation? Oh my God, I can't remember these
Dana
names.
Carvey.
Yeah, his
Dana
his
Carvey.
his, I mean not Bush, Biden. His Biden impersonation was
Oh,
so
it's great.
funny.
Colin Joust is
Colin
the
Jost. I got the
uh,
J. Yeah,
fortunate husband of Scarlett
yeah,
Johansson.
you really got to hand it to him. I mean,
Boy, he fucking outkicked his coverage. That's for sure.
no kidding. I wonder how. I wonder. Well, I heard my daughter told me that she was on with the show one time and she just thought he was really funny. And I've always said better to be funny and good in the sack, but certainly funny than anything else, in my opinion.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Allegedly, that's how I got Linda to marry me because I was funny. It certainly
I
wasn't
know.
my prowess in bed. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Do we really need to get into that?
No.
That's in the TMI category. Did you see who's back?
You comment. Why do you guys just leave? I thought it was a very nice 10-second clip. Why do you guys leave the woman alone? And did you see how close his election? This election was not
Yes.
this landslide that everybody thinks it was, nor, and I hope that Trump thinks it's a mandate because then he's going to do stupid things like these tariffs, which is going to send the economy right into the tankaroony.
All right, so Kamala Harris comes back yesterday, and she was clearly drunk. I mean, she is just as drunk as a fart when she did this. I don't know why. And
I put her against Donald Trump any
she
day.
looked as haggard as she could be.
I thought she was
Um,
fine.
she looked like hell. Are you kidding me? She looked like the front and back of a Christmas tree all in one. It was terrible.
Well, Alicia's saying she's ugly now instead of stupid. I
No,
mean,
I don't think Kamala Harris is ugly. She's a reasonably attractive woman. She's no beauty, but that's okay. But this thing yesterday, why did
Donald Trump is attractive, by the way. I'm just
no,
want to,
Donald Trump is very unattractive. He's an orange man.
but that's not what we hear about him, right? I mean, we don't hear about his looks. Only women are judged by their
I
tinkle.
think Donald Trump's been made fun of enough about his looks, his orange man bad, his stupid hairdo,
Oh, it
uh,
is pretty bad.
his portly
But
nature.
my criticism of him is that he's mentally ill and insane and a madman and was managed to fool everybody,
All
evidently.
right, so the election was close. It was just barely 50%
Yeah.
for Trump and just, a little under 50% for Kamala Harris. The electoral numbers obviously are different just because of the way they are. If you look at
The
that,
three states, by the way.
what's that?
If you look at Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, I mean, it's something like 120,000 votes in those combined three states.
Hmm.
And that would have, because that's all if she had gotten those three states, she would have won because that's the blue wall. But it is what it is.
She didn't. And so, here we are almost a month out from things. Um, as a Democrat, a proud member of the Democrat Party, do you wish either that Joe Biden stayed as the nominee? Do you wish that he did vacate and someone else was the nominee? Or do you wish that they opened up the process and you had a true primary process?
So let me first correct you and say that I'm actually not a registered Democrat. You may
Yeah.
recall I am a liberal, a proud liberal, by the way, but not a Democrat. I would not join any party that would have me as a member to start with. But
I too am unenrolled.
the problem is that I can't see the reason I'm not a Democrat is exactly because of what happened in this election. The elite cabal of the Democratic Party, started frankly with Barack Obama, chose who the candidates were going to be in 2016, 20, and 24. There was no primary, there was no selection process. Now, I don't care that she didn't get a vote. That's not the point. The point is that Barack Obama anointed Joe Biden as Hillary Clinton as the nominee in 2016. That's if he had stayed out of it, Hillary may have gotten the nomination, but I think Bernie was certainly, and Joe Biden would have been in the race as well. I mean, Joe Biden got out of it because Hillary Clinton got into it because of Barack Obama. And then in 2020, everybody coalesced around Joe Biden because they were so scared of Bernie. And in 2024, Kamala Harris. So you have the last three nominees were selected by the elitist cabal of the Democratic Party who are out of touch with reality. They don't speak middle American. And you know what? If they don't learn their lesson, it's never going to change, because when you have a swing of the Hispanic vote alone, when you have these minorities who are voting for the Republican Party by huge numbers, and don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting the Republicans don't offer certain attractive policies for minorities, but let's be honest, Hispanics, blacks, traditional supporters of the Democratic Party. So they're going to lose every election. So number one, I agree with you. There was no primary, no real primary. I'm not so sure Bernie wouldn't have won in 2016. If you look at how he got elected, how Trump won in 2024. Joe Rogan is a great example. Joe Rogan was a Bernie bro. He supported Bernie in 2016. And all the Bernie bros, who did they vote for in 2024? Not Kamala. They voted for Donald Trump. And so an argument could be made that I'm not sure he would have won, but there's no primary system. And so if the Democrats, and then you don't have a base, Kamala Harris had no base because she didn't win the primaries, right? And frankly, neither did Joe Biden. Number two, Joe Biden interpreted the 2022 election, mid-year election as a mandate for him. It was not a mandate for him. It was a mandate against the Dobbs decision. They did not vote. They weren't saying, the public wasn't saying, we like you, Joe Biden, run again in 2024. They were saying, we're pissed off about the Dobbs decision, and we're gonna vote anti that decision, and we'll keep you in power. It was not a mandate for the Democratic Party. If Joe Biden had gotten out in 2022 and we had a legitimate primary, I think the Democratic candidate would certainly have had a chance to win. Kamala ran a good campaign. It was not a bad campaign. She did not distance herself from Biden fast enough, or ever, frankly. She was saddled with the immigration issue, which she never satisfactorily addressed. And she could have said, look, you know what? We screwed that up. I could have done more. I should have done more. But let's not forget I'm the vice president, not the president. I will do things differently. I'm not saying she'd win the election, but
And
she's got to distance herself.
you got to stop
Okay.
being like Joy Reid on MSNBC and saying that Kamala Harris ran a good campaign. Kamala Harris did not run a good campaign. Kamala Harris ran a shitty campaign,
How
including
did she win? Tell me why.
hiding and not talking to the media, period. But maybe that was a good strategy because she's not really good at it.
She
And
did talk to her. She went on Fox News. And
she
look what happened. You guys all said, see how terrible she is? I thought
can.
she did a great
All
job.
right. So she was terrible. You admit that she was
I
terrible. All
don't think
right.
I think she was great.
So how do you run a good campaign if you're Kamala Harris? Well, you were named the border czar, even though that was in denial. But why keep fucking up and not going to the border?
I
Go to the
agree.
border, stand in front of the border and say,
I
you know
agree.
what? This is bullshit. We haven't fixed it. I'm going to fix it day one in the office. You didn't do that at all.
I
In
agree.
denial about the whole border thing and how serious of an issue it was with Americans.
But what that really means, Mike, is when you say she didn't run, I agree with you. What she did wrong in this campaign was not distance herself from Joe Biden early and emphatically. I'm not saying that would have made her win, but if you look at every election with the vice president, I mean, go back to Hubert Humphrey, go to Al Gore. Both of those candidates never separated themselves for the president until it was too late to do so. And they only lost by 1 percentage points. Both Hubert Humphrey and Al Gore barely
Yeah.
lost. And
Yeah.
had they said, and Al Gore said, look, I'm not Bill Clinton. Great president, not a huge moral fiber here. I'm going to do things differently. He may not have won, but the point is, if you're the vice president of an unpopular administration, and by the way, whether it was justified or not, Biden was not popular. And his administration was looked at as a failed administration. That's the perception, right or wrong. And if that's the perception, you have to distance yourself from it. And she didn't do that. I agree. Okay.
All right.
But let me say one other thing.
Go ahead.
At the end of the day, 7 to 8 million Democrats stayed home. End of story.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't stay home in that amount of people and win an election. I mean, Donald Trump did not get many more votes than he got last time around, but the Democrats stayed home. Why? Because Joe Biden was unpopular and they tied Kamala to his administration, which is appropriate to do.
All right. So last week, right after Matt Gaetz was nominated for Attorney General, you were right on me with an email about you've got to be you can't think that Matt Gaetz is a good pick, and we weren't able to convene last week. But you know what? You're actually right. I didn't think Matt Gaetz was a good pick, and I didn't think he'd make it, and he didn't. I think in-party pressure from the likes of Susan Collins and John Thune and a few others, he clearly wasn't going to make it. Plus, there are off-the-field issues, shall we say, with Matt Gaetz.
Yeah.
Why Donald Trump didn't nominate Pam Bondi in the first place is completely beyond me. She has experience as an attorney general in Florida.
Yeah.
She's been someone who's been by his side in his cases. Why didn't he do that first? So a problem took care of itself when Gaetz withdrew, whether he was told to walk the plank or just walked the plank on his own, and Pam Bondi stepped up.
Yeah, and let me say, by the way, the first appointment Donald Trump did, his chief of staff, was an excellent choice. I was
Summerall's daughter.
I was right, and I was shocked. I mean, I said, "Whoa, that was damn good." Okay. Now, some of his other picks,
especially for a noted misogynist like Donald Trump, to choose a woman in that would be,
that is ironic. And by the way, his cabinet is identical to 2016. I mean, it's still mainly white old men, but RFK, seriously, RFK, seriously,
why is he too healthy for you?
RFK is not healthy at all. He's got a worm in his brain. Come on, the worm is eating his brain. How can you say he's healthy?
He can bench press more than you, that's for sure.
That's coming from him. If I had a worm in my brain, I probably wouldn't mention it.
Look, here's what I think about Bobby Kennedy Jr. He was right on COVID, and he's been wrong on everything else. Okay. So I love the fact that his uncle Jack, founded the President's Council on Physical Fitness back in the day. I found a speech on YouTube where John F. Kennedy, I think it was 1962, called young American children fat. Can you imagine a president doing that now? He'd be absolutely subject to scorn. But he created the President's Council on Physical Fitness because we were getting out of shape even back then. So anyway, Uncle Jack started that all the way back, 60 years ago. Now here's Bobby, who's really healthy. He eats good food. He's into not pest, no DDT. Let's not pave paradise and put up a parking lot and all that stuff. But on some stuff, he is an absolute fucking kook.
Did you see that?
By the way, Trump's a Surgeon General nominee who's a COVID warrior, and she too is a kook.
Did you see the picture of them on the plane eating with RK eating McDonald's? I mean, that was just
hilarious. He looked like he had been taken hostage.
I mean, if you know a picture's being taken, can't you go like, I mean, and poor Johnson is sitting there behind them, not sitting with the adults. He's at the kids' table. Poor Mike Johnson.
That was hilarious.
It really was. Yeah. So look, I didn't move. I didn't move to Canada. This
No.
too shall pass. I think the Democrats, I expect them to shoot themselves in the foot. We'll see who they pick for the DNC. But if it's not an outsider out of the Beltway, nothing's going to change. They're going to have to, they had very bad use of social media where Trump was a master of social media. Trump's campaign the last 10 days was a disaster, except he went on male podcast and got every bro in America to vote for him. And you got to hand it to him. I mean, he pulled it out. And listen, I don't know if he's going to do mass deportations. I don't know who's going to do your landscaping if they deport all the, Mexicans out of the United States.
There's
But
plenty of American companies that are still doing
the
landscaping.
problem is, Mike, that look, the truth is that if you look at young white men, they won't do the jobs that that immigrants will do. They just
I
don't do
see
it.
young white men all over the state of Maine doing
Because we
landscaping.
have no minorities in the state of Maine. That's not it. Go elsewhere. You'll see
Oh, for fuck's
Mexicans and
sake, get out of here
Hispanics.
with that. Come on.
Okay, so let's see what happens with mass deportations. This will be interesting. This will be
Yeah, I can't wait for it. Look, it's you. If you are here illegally, you should be gone.
well, the process is flawed. We've talked about this endlessly. They always talk about fixing the system. It's not going to be fixed. But
Well,
Donald
I
Trump's
hope
not going to fix the system. Donald Trump's going to get rid of everybody. Okay, I don't care. Listen, Donald Trump
that's a
getting
start.
my 401k has done great since the election. So who am I? I mean, my tax rate's going to go down. I'm going to make more money.
Great. You
I
should
don't,
be coming over to the dark side, Ken. Come on, man.
but I'm not crazy, and I'm not. And by the way, Donald Trump was pretty masterful about avoiding the abortion issue. I mean, the only thing he could say is up to the states. I'm taking no position on it. Smart move. I think that's smart. Don't introduce a national ban on abortion because I think that would be a disaster for him.
So
But
do
he's
I.
not going to run again, so what does it matter?
Right. So do I. And I think that would be what is the opposite of a stroke of genius? A stroke of
It's
stupidity.
stupidity.
Right.
Stupidity.
I mean, that would be absolutely insane to do. And abortion is going to be legal in this country long after you and I are long gone, Ken.
Well, at some point, presumably at some point, the Democrats will come back in power and they'll codify. I mean, Roe v. Wade, as I've said many times, is really was a bad case. There was, and I think most people would accept a 16-week fine line. I mean, I think most people would do that. I think where you get in trouble is the 6 weeks or 4 weeks or a complete ban. I think that's where the Republicans go off the rail.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
and Bibles in every school in Oklahoma. That's a good move too.
hmm
So
hmm not that anybody cares about Alec Baldwin or Sharon Stone, but I did notice a story about each of them in the last 24 hours where they both have decried the election of Donald Trump, and it's because we are, and by we I mean me being an American white male, we are too uneducated, according to Sharon Stone. We're too uneducated to recognize just how fucking awesome Kamala Harris was and is. What are your thoughts on that? Am
well,
I
if you
uneducated, so uneducated that I don't realize, I don't grasp how great she is?
if you look at the statistics, college educated men and women are the ones who voted for Kamala more than Donald Trump. So you could make the argument that Donald Trump won because non-college educated individuals voted more for Donald Trump than Kamala Harris. Do I think the average American voter is an idiot? I do. But that includes educated, college educated white men too. I mean, let me be really clear. If I picked the president, we'd be in a much better place.
Of
And by the way,
course.
it wouldn't have been Kamala Harris. It wouldn't have been Donald Trump. We've never nominated the best candidates for president. We know that, okay? I mean, that's the problem. So we don't get the best and the brightest. We never will. I think the American public, look, the American public votes on emotions, always, okay? My eggs and bread are too expensive. Gas prices are going up. And by the way, if you look, I mean, the Israeli-Hamas conflict looks like it's going to be hopefully resolved. The economy's booming. The stock market's got a new high. It did before Trump got elected. So the whole narrative about what a disaster Biden's administration has been is not accurate. That being said, Biden's perceived to be a failed administration, and people vote on that. People, I mean, misinformation. Most people make decisions on misinformation, and I'm not just saying Republicans. I'm talking about Democrats too. That Donald Trump's going to be, is going to become a dictator, and is going to become a, he's going to be the next Hitler.
Hitler.
Go out and vote for Kamala Harris, or our democracy is going to be over. I don't believe that for 1 minute. So that's the same misinformation that Democrats say. If Donald Trump gets elected, democracy is going to end. That's bullshit. That's nuts. People vote on misinformation and they vote on emotions. I do think that people don't think through their choices very well.
Well,
That
I think when you say people vote on their emotions, when it comes to stuff like that, yes. When it comes to stuff like gas prices are too high, or my grocery bill is too high, or I can't afford to buy presents for my kids for Christmas. I think those are legitimate reasons. Whether that I don't think that's as an emotional a reason, or maybe it is. I don't know. As well, geez, anybody. If when it comes to the American voter, if you voted for or against Trump based on the fact that some Democrats said he was Hitler, you're an idiot.
and a
You're
lot of people did.
all right. So that leads me to Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, who after the election went to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring of Hitler, a man they called Hitler numerous times during the presidential campaign and all the way back to 2016, and to try to make peace, I guess, with Trump. And I guess for whatever reason he was receptive. I would have told them both to go fuck off. There's nothing to be gained for having them on your side. But what did you make of that?
I think it's bullshit. I think it's no different than the Republicans who criticized Trump after January 6th. And then when meet Kevin McCarthy, what, 3 weeks before we went to Mar-a-Lago to meet with him and apologize and kiss his ring? I mean, look, I think that's despicable behavior of a Republican or a Democrat. I just think have some balls. Don't, what is this? If you take a stand, take a stand. I think it's hypocritical and I think it's stupid. I guess they think it advances them in some way. I don't think it does. I just don't. And by the way, I didn't comment on Alec Baldwin and Sharon Stone.
Yeah,
Sharon Stone in what was it? Was Fatal Attraction? No, what
Fatal
was
Attraction.
she was she was pretty good in Fatal Attraction. That being said, do I think Sharon Stone and Alec Baldwin are smarter than I am or you are? I do not. I do not.
Thank you.
I don't, I don't, I don't, because they act, and although acting is a skill that I appreciate,
Yeah.
I don't think because you may be a good actor, that makes you more intelligent than anyone else. I would say that acting may be the least mentally taxing occupation there is.
I would agree with that. So Thanksgiving is here, and are you going to have turkey?
I've been toying. Oh, I shouldn't tell you this. I'm just going to get in. I know what you're going to say when I say this. I've been toying with the idea of becoming a vegetarian again.
Again, were you one at one
In
time?
college, I was. Yes.
Okay, all right. So you're 21. All right, I can in 1960 whatever, and when that's a cool thing, and maybe you're going to get laid because of it, because some other girl at
Exactly.
UC is going to think
Exactly. It was
great because you're not going to kill an animal. But here you are, you've made it all the way to what, 72? And you've greatly enjoyed fine meats, whether it's white meat, whether it's red meat. Why at
I
this
know.
point in time
Well, I
would
told you
you
I
come
was.
up with
You
the
remember?
idea?
I was always an intellectual vegetarian. Never forget that.
Right. You're
Okay.
right. I mean, has red meat become less tasty to you?
No, but it really bothers me that I'm eating living things.
Oh, for fuck's sake, it does not.
It does
Does
morally.
not.
It does. I
It took
really.
73 years for a cow to weasel his way into your
Oh,
home.
I've always felt that way, and I don't. I don't know. I don't. When I see fish and chicken, I eat a lot of chicken. Look. I was raised on meat. We're definitely carnivores. There's a part of me that believes if my digestive system can handle it, I'm supposed to be eating it. I get all that,
Right.
but
So
I go
forget
to.
about the rest of the garbage in your head.
I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do it because I hate vegetables. First of
I
all,
know. I know.
so I probably die. But I was thinking of cutting back a little bit on red meat because really red meat is really not particularly good for you.
Ken, you're 72 and you're in reasonably good health. There's no reason for you to stop eating meat.
Would you don't you remember Beverly Hills Cop when whatever that actor was said how much meat stays in your intestines when you eat meat like for years? It's
Yeah, so what?
so to answer your question, because I'm thinking about it in the new year. So yes,
Right.
but turkey is the least favorite part of Thanksgiving to me. I mean,
Okay.
stuffing is, and I don't stuffing with turkey drippings. I get it, and lots of gravy. I have drenching everything with gravy. Mashed potatoes with a ton of butter on it. You know the little crescent rolls. I mean, oh, the only thing about the Thanksgiving dinner, and I do eat dark meat, not white meat. I don't get white meat as
That's
much.
interesting. I'm not a dark meat guy.
Oh, well, oh, it's so much better. Why would anybody not prefer it? Um, you notice I didn't say once you go black. I'm not
Right,
going
you did not.
to say
Thank
like
you.
cranberry sauce is the only thing that I don't get at all. I don't understand it.
Really? No, so you don't eat it?
And
Uh,
Brussels sprouts I'll never eat, no matter
well,
what.
who the fuck would? Those things are gross. Whoever that's an un-American food,
And
damn
may
it.
I say, my daughter makes the best pecan pie, and it's not pecan pie ever made in the universe.
Green bean casserole. Are you in or out?
Oh, of course. I love green bean
I'm
casserole.
totally in. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I would
Oh,
eat
you
the
know,
whole pan.
how about scallop potatoes? Let's
Oh,
go scallop potatoes for a change. I mean,
I could swim in its
pile the
scalded
cheese on,
potatoes.
just
Yeah,
pile the cheese on. You can't have too much cheese in scallop potatoes. So
you can't. So it's funny. I asked you about turkey, and I'm not having turkey for
I know you're
Thanksgiving.
going to do the
I,
Jewish thing.
I'm Jew. I'm being I guess a Jew on
Better
Thanksgiving.
Jew than I am.
We're
That's
having Chinese. I'm going to Peter's and we're having Chinese food because he and his significant other have been to 2 or 3 Friendsgiving so far. And he said, Dad, if I have another freaking piece of turkey, I don't know what I'm going to do.
so why
So
not go to a barbecue or something? I'd go to a barbecue if I wasn't going. Go to like
I'm not one to turn my nose up at good Chinese food. So I will go and I'll take one for the team and eat Chinese food. One
Now,
more thing before we go.
I was going to say, I'm assuming you're not watching any football on Saturday.
Oh, no, 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 no. That's wrong, Ken. You'd be wrong about that because your beloved Michigan Wolverines are playing on Saturday against the Ohio State University Buckeyes. That's at the Ohio State University, the Horseshoe at noon. The game will, by the way, be on Fox. And I did some investigative reporting prior to our podcast today, and I looked up the line for
Yes.
this game, the official betting
Wait,
line.
let me guess.
You know what the betting line is for this?
Let me guess. And I don't know. I haven't looked. I mean, they're going to get slaughtered, but I would say 13.
You wish it was 13. It's 20 and a half. Ohio State is favored by 20 and a half. So this is the biggest spread since they started keeping track of this going back to 1969. Okay.
Wow.
Now, in all of that time, this is the biggest spread other than 2 years in 1970 and in 1996 when Ohio State was favored by 17 and a half both times. Do you know what happened in 1970 and 1996 when Ohio State was favored by 17 and a half?
I think Michigan won.
Michigan won both games outright. So, see, I'm giving you something to live for on Saturday with this 20 and a half point spread.
And you remember the 1969 game where Bo Schembechler, his first game, beat Woody Hayes.
Hayes.
Woody Hayes said to him, "You win a lot more games, but this will be the biggest win you'll have in your entire career."
Well,
He was
he
right.
certainly, let's say he got a couple of extra contract extensions because of it.
I may vote on. I may bet on that game. I think that's a big spread.
I do too.
I mean,
And if I were a betting man, and I'm not, I'm surrounded by people who bet an incredible amount of money on games. If I were a betting man, I would take Michigan and the points. I
I
think they're
don't
going
even
to
know how to. I don't even know how to bet.
FanDuel, DraftKings, go there, and they'll walk you through the process.
I may place a bet on that game. I think
$20 on it. You know, what do you got to lose?
20 bucks.
Well, you just that look that
Thank you for giving me
your
that
hourly
experience.
rate is slightly higher than $20, isn't
And
it?
so let me ask you, I mean, I understand that Michigan won the national championship, lost a lot of players, but I don't think it should. I mean, is it the coach? I mean, is it just a loss of talent?
Yeah, there's a loss of talent. I mean, look, you lost JJ McCarthy, you lost the running back whose name I can't remember.
You lost Harbaugh too. So
Yeah, you lost Harbaugh, but yeah, it's attrition from the talent pool, both at the coaching level and the players level.
but you see Alabama and Ohio State and Notre Dame year after year. They
Alabama's lost 3 times this year.
that's
So,
that's
um,
true. But
so
Ohio State always gets these new recruits and always are contenders. I
yeah,
mean,
well, did they win a national championship
no,
last
they do not.
year? Okay.
Yeah.
So
Good,
you
good point.
take when you win a ring, you feel very good about that, and you're willing to pay the fiddler for a few years down the line. It's just like the Patriots. We won 6 Super Bowls when Brady and Belichick were together, and now that they're both gone, we're paying the fiddler. But
And but have you ever reached a conclusion whether you thought which one was more important, Brady or Belichick?
I think they fed off each other. If I had to give an edge, I'd give a slight edge to Brady.
I agree with you, and I analogized this to the Beatles. Together, they were so much better than separate.
It's just like I've analyzed who brought more success, Ken or Mike, and I say me by a nose, even though you've got the bigger one.
Yeah, but you've got the voice, man. You've got the
Yeah,
voice.
but you've got something. I don't
I
know
was
what.
a pointed-headed intellectual. People I've gotten some emails from, and I wish I remembered. Is it Mary Strain? Is that her name? She was a listener of ours, and she's texted me a couple of times.
Oh, yeah, I think so. Yes.
And there's been some others, and I really, next time I get them, I'm going to mention them because it's very nice to get these text
Yes.
messages saying how much they like. I wish more people would subscribe and like because we do such a great job.
We do. We do. Happy Thanksgiving, Ken.
Thanks, but you take care, okay?